à tous. Hello, welcome. Hi, thanks to have a seat. Thanks to be with us today. Merci d'être là. Installez-vous, mettez-vous de façon confortable. Est-ce que tout le
Take a
monde est là?
seat. Is everyone there? Great. Welcome. Welcome to this conference of Educate organized by Educate with the support of PVOB Enable, which gave us this beautiful meeting room, the Belgian government. My name is Ariel.
I'm going to walk you through this day. I'm going to make sure you get everything, the most of it today, also that you don't get bored. So we will, with the speakers, sometimes be prepared to be taken a little bit out of your comfort zone, to have to act, to move, to vote, whatever. It's because as you are all in the education sector, you know that to keep your audience participating, you need to diversify. So we will do so. Mais avant ça, je vais...
But before that, I'm going to ask you, how do you feel today? How do you feel? Did you come with a lot of work on your computer, on your tablet, at your office, or are you free? Are you free today and full of energy, and you only think about the Educate conference you have been expecting for 1 year, because it's an event that is organized every single year? Or if today you say, okay, it's okay with me. For our participants online, don't hesitate to do the same. Tell me, who is up? Everyone is up, thumbs up. Who has a lot of work today, and who has, yes, who's still with us, but with a lot of work? Oh, you all have a lot of work. Oh, it sounds familiar. Well, I'm going to ask you, to all of you, and we are going to try to be in the here and now. 2 minutes, close your eyes and breathe deeply. Close your eyes, breathe deeply. Once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and 5 times. Open your eyes. Welcome. And now you are fully with us. We have a few administrative items or announcements. Firstly, we are working with collective intelligence today. We are all right, but only partially. We have certainly something to learn from our friends, neighbors. Try to be here and now. We have done it now with an exercise, a breathing exercise, and it is your conference. You are a member of Educate. It's your conference. Enjoy and don't hesitate to take the floor, Marek and myself, if you have questions. If you think it's positive, it's great. It's also good news. Don't hesitate to share.
For those who have joined us online, I will receive your remarks on this iPad, and I will use them, so you will be able to participate as much as the persons in the room. We are about 70 in the room, I guess 200 online, so that's a big group, guys. La fin de la conférence est prévue à 16h30.
We will close the conference at 4:30. At 12:30 p.m. we are going to eat. There is no coffee break, but if you want to stand up, please feel free. Coffee in the breakout room. For those who need a translation, they are headphones. We are going indeed to translate from French into English, English into French. Do you need a headphone?
Okay, we will come and bring you headsets. Okay. Et donc, comme il y a de la traduction,
And there is translation, interpretation. The interpreters are online. to ask you to be basically silent because otherwise the noise around is very difficult for interpreters. And you know the device of mass distraction, big distraction. Just, I'm not asking you to switch them off, but to maybe, well, to put them in silent modus. You have the headphones, that's okay. I would like to thank the interpreters bits because it's quite difficult to do this online. It's hybrid. On your seat, you will find red, yellow, orange, and green papers. Of course, you will have to use them at one time in the meeting. If you want to take the floor, please raise your hand.
Not have color sheets, but please do not hesitate. You will be able to vote with us and to react on the chat online. Alors, la conférence va être enregistrée.
The conference will be afterwards available on the website, and all the presentations will be put also on the educate.be website. And do not hesitate to share with us your experience and also on social media using hashtag for inclusion. Okay?
Okay. Alors, j'imagine que tout le monde est motivé.
I
Merci
think
d'être
that
venu.
everyone is motivated. Thank you very much for being with us. It means if you're here that you want to learn something. Of course, we are not going because we are quite, well, it's quite a huge number, but we know that we have a lot of participants and co-participants, and I'm going to use a virtual microphone with a real microphone at the same time to launch this ball. The one who gets the ball is going to tell me what she or he wants to bring home. What's the key home message? The key message. We're going to do this exercise 3 times, and Mareka is going to take note of the 3 reactions and also of 3 reactions of our participants online. Ready, go.
What do you expect of the conference? What's your takeaway for today?
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I want to say that I'm very happy to be here. I'm from Kenya Embassy. I'm in charge of education. I'm education attaché. For me, basically, is I'll want to know how ICT can enhance quality education in developing world and reach the unreachable, reach the children who perhaps will be left behind by technology and will want to be part of this current world. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You can throw the ball. Okay.
Hello, everybody. Thank you for receiving a lot of people here today. I'm interested in this conference because I went in Cambodia to work in an NGO on education, and I worked on the privatization of education. Yeah, and I met a lot of international people. So yeah, I want to hear mostly stories about education from all over the world, and learn a lot of the people here too.
Can I have
Thank
your
you.
name?
Caroline Reff, R-E-F-F.
Okay. Can I ask you to throw the ball this side? Oui.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Geraldine. I'm working for vleer.e.s. I'm here for networking, and I'm happy I already have a face for somebody from the Kenyan embassy because we have a lot of projects in Kenya. So I will try to speak with you during break time. And of course, I also want to hear more about STEM and technology.
Okay, thank you.
And I will throw the ball.
Mare, do we have any reactions online? So we throw the ball again. Yeah.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Shireen. I come from Palestine. I work now for the ETE department with the general education team. What do I expect from today's session? I join you. I'm very interested to know more about STEM education and technology opportunities to improve the quality of education as well. Thank you.
Okay. We can try it once more, so we are even, nearly. No, this side. This side. Yeah.
Enough with this side.
Okay, well, you choose. You choose.
Okay.
Luckily, I did get a foam ball.
Where's my ball?
Voilà. Elle ne mord pas. Allez-y, allez-y.
Okay, thank you. Hello, my name is Mariko Matsuzaki. So today I'm very happy to be here because I'm now learning about digitization for education sector for my PhD research. And what I would like to learn today is especially what makes people wanting to utilize digital tools and what could be the hindrance to make people use digital tools for their education. So that's my question and the goal for today. Thank you very much. Very nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much. We stopped to play, I don't know, it was volleyball, basketball or soccer. We stopped it. Et maintenant, pour vous rappeler, Educate, effectivement, est une plateforme qui est co-gérée par VVEB.
Educate is a co-platform, also co-managed by VVOB, and it makes programs and actions real. Now I'm going... oh, there is something online, sorry.
Ah, voilà, j'ai la réaction.
Great. I have the reaction. Yes, I wanted to take part in this forum to have a better understanding of the experiences of others. What do they do with the digital tools? This conference is a key conference for Educate. It's a yearly conference, and I don't need to reiterate this because the managing director from Enabel and from APV, they wanted to be with us to welcome you. I'm going to invite Jean. He's going to welcome you.
Welcome to Enable, and great to see all of you and so many people. And a very nice exercise to also know the expectations that you have this morning. I have maybe two messages for this morning. The first one, it's very important to get united, to get together as believers of education, but also as believers of international cooperation. As you know, all over Europe, I feel we are sometimes under attack. You see an increasing number of populist movements being against international cooperation and a big risk that budgets for international cooperation are cut. It's already the fact in the Netherlands. France, they speak about minus 20%, Germany minus 20% as well. Belgium still being negotiated. So it's very important that stakeholders like you get together for what they believe and also get vocal why we do that. Because it's important. It reduces inequalities, it connects people, and it develops the future because we speak about education of children. So it's important, I think, to remind our politicians about the importance of what we do. That's the first message. Second message is the topic itself. And thank you, Educate, for choosing this topic because it's a topic which is
very close to my heart. I come back from Congo. I was there last week, and we were to Sud Ubangi, to Gemena, for those who know, which is a region in the north of Congo, near the border with Central African Republic, very isolated and not connected in a way to the rest of Congo, and a region where it's difficult to recruit teachers, it's difficult to find budget to build schools. There is no road, there is no tarmac road at all, so it's also a big issue of access. And in a country like DRC, but also in other countries, I really believe that technology and artificial intelligence and new ways of teaching can really make a difference. And I know there are people who are skeptical about that, thinking that no technology can never replace a teacher, and I also believe the teaching and the physical role of the teacher is very important. But we need to be aware that in some circumstances, when there is no other choice, because there is no school or because there is no teacher, we need to innovate. We need to have a combination of physical teaching and technology. And I know a barrier is access to mobile or to connectivity, but connectivity, and I lived in Tanzania for 6 years myself, and I've seen how fast connectivity can be resolved. And in a way, it's faster to resolve the connectivity issue than it is to resolve the quality education issue. So I believe connectivity is just a question of time. So I hope that all of you here can come with bright ideas, and I'm happy there is a representative from the Embassy of Kenya, and I know the ambassador of Kenya will come later today, because he's the former ICT minister in Kenya, and he's somebody who believes and has seen in a country like Kenya the impact that ICT can have on improving quality education. So today, for me, what I hope you will get as a result is common ideas that we can implement together. And for that, I'm happy we are together with APF and VVOB, and nice to see you, Benoit. And we work together in a lot of different projects. But this topic cannot be solved alone, and that's where the added value of a network like Educate makes its full sense. Because it requires a lot of investments, it requires bold ideas, and for that, no single entity can do it alone. So for me, it's also nice to see so many positive minds in the room that can commit to work together for the greater good. So on behalf of Enable, welcome again for this today's Educate annual conference. Thank you for being here, and I pass the floor to Benoit, who will speak on behalf of APF. Thank you, merci, thank you.
Donc, bonjour à toutes et bonjour à tous. Moi, je ne vais pas
Well, good morning. I'm going to read a few notes, and I would like to start with by thanking our new Minister for Development Cooperation, because he will have to support our initiatives, and that's important. I would like also to thank the UNESCO representative, Madam Director of EFEF, Madam Director of NORAC, and Mr. CEO of Kitabu. And you, Jean, thank you for welcoming us here. And all of you, ladies and gentlemen, in your ranks, titles, and qualities here in Brussels or online. Since this is the third time we have an hybrid format in order to be much more inclusive and to be as inclusive as possible. More than 200 online participants. Thank you. It's a great pleasure to welcome you to this 13th edition of Educate's annual conference, an important part, an important momentum for our platform. It's a unique opportunity for sharing and networking as we bring together a wide range of members from the education and training sector. Together, we speak with one voice to defend the plates of ODD for international cooperation, and that's very important, even more than in the past. Together, we are contributing to solutions that will enable humanity to continue to live and progress in dignity and in an equal in an equitably shared education. A child is also shaped by what he sees, hears, and feels, by observing his parents and the adults around him. That's very important. We need to be attentive to what kind of world we can offer our children tomorrow. The IA revolution in education is a challenge. We need to innovate in teaching and learning practices and accelerate progress on SDG 4, i.e. in education means additional opportunities for inclusion. And you said it, because children who sometimes are isolated, we will bring them back. And it's also a possibility to personalize content for children who have specific difficulties. It's also a risk of slippage. And also, according to me, an important part, because we could increase the digital divide. And indeed, we're talking about ethical questioning, not to mention the risk of to the development of critical thinking, because as we talk about IA, it's only a very small percentage of information and not all the information. So I think that the real danger is not the IA will take control of the education sector, but that we will voluntarily or involuntarily give it this control. As you can see, I see IA above all as a tool that can help support teachers by offering personalized recommendations for them, but also for all students according to their needs. Artificial intelligence, IA, can, and that's important for our cooperation program, can provide data to track students' progress and also lighten certain tasks for teachers, saving them time that can be reinvested in the classrooms. Today, all our educational projects should ideally have an IA component, as we do for gender or climate or environment. Very quickly, PayFay and its partners have understood that this IE is important for 2024. In the 24-24 strategy, we have integrated an IA axis with the strategic objective of setting up innovative education and training schemes for players, for participants. And indeed, as you said, it's very important to exchange with one another, because this is a platform, and this platforms makes innovation possible. Before concluding, I would like to thank the IFAF in particular for its involvement in this international conference. It's a long-standing partner of APIFI, and this partnership is a good example of operational complementarity. I would like to thank Enable as well, because we are together in this education program supported by the EU, and I am a firm believer in the virtues of this complementarity between the different programs of those agencies. We co-construct on needs directly expressed by beneficiaries, by learners, and that's very important. As you said, in Congo, we are very active there with our program in the field of education, and we do contribute to this program. I would like to conclude by wishing you all excellent, inspiring, and enriching work, a fruitful day for our entire community in order to defend our interests. Thank you very much indeed.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much indeed. Get vocal, unite. Get vocal, unite, being together. These are the key messages. Together, we will be able to meet different challenges and also different opportunities. For instance, integration of IA in the education sector, the role of the teacher as well. I'm not going to dwell on that because we are already running a little bit behind, but thank you very much for these introductory remarks. And now I'm going to give the floor to Anna Cristina, Senior Policy Analyst. UNESCO, she's going to present. We have never seen that, the GEM report 2023, talking about the SDGs 4, um, um, access to quality education on an equal footing and promoting the learning possibilities or lifelong learning. If you have seen the CVs, the professional experience, this is impressive. I have seen that on our website. They are really experts. So therefore, I thought that being personal was maybe more interesting. And I asked her, why are you? What's the life motor? What's the life motor? What sentence is important for you? And Anna sent me her answer this morning, and Anna said, and it's very clear, she says,
no longer someone who teaches, but who guides children and ourselves to accomplish ourselves and to be yourself. And this is a shared responsibility of the teacher and the student. Anna, j'espère que j'ai bien traduit.
I hope it was okay. You have the floor.
I will speak in English, but of course the question may be in French. So first of all, I would like to say that I'm very happy, honored to be here again in presence. And I'm very happy to be here because Belgium is very close to my heart. And I spent a lot of time here, by the way, also working with IDES, Nikes at HIVA. But I'm here to present you a report that we launched in 2023. And it is a report that is not about artificial intelligence. It is about technology in education. And this report, when we started working on this report, we decided that it would have been important not to ask the question how technology can be used or to center our question or our research on technology. The question, the important question, and Ariane said that when she repeated the SDG 4 definition, the idea is that what is the education system we want? We want an education system that is equitable, that is inclusive, that is quality, that delivers quality education, and it is efficient. And then when we have put the discussion in this way, we can ask, can technology help to achieve that? And if it is the case, what are the conditions under which this can happen? So this is the way we have worked out this report. The first thing, the first important fact is that it's true, technology has been really undergoing a huge development in the last decades, and especially in education, it has been enormously used. But, there is a but, I should say and. But the fact is that it is changing, but is not transforming education. It is changing because we have moved online, we are using technology in education as a tools. We know that this massive online course has grown rapidly, especially for higher education students. But we know also that the uses and adoption of technology varies a lot across many, many groups. It varies across incomes level, education levels, teacher preparedness, geographical locations, and there is a really
an important issue here. Sorry, because I don't know what's going on here. Okay. So the idea is that when we look at the chart that doesn't appear here, I don't know why. That's why I was moving. High technology. The fact what we observe is that many students are not regularly exposed to technology in school, even when we look at the classes of mathematics and science. There is a huge differences across countries, and even in high-income countries, because the chart that doesn't appear use OECD data and shows that even across high-income countries, the use of technology in classroom is really different. So it's important to ask ourselves, can children learn without technology? And what do you think? Can children learn without technology? And or technology can solve really these key education challenges, the equity, quality, efficiency. The answer we give in the report is really very nuanced. It's not black, it's not white, it's gray. In fact, is the fact that, first of all, good impartial evidence on the use of technology in evidence and its impact is lacking. When we talk about the impact, we mean collection of data and data that allow to capture a causal impact, something that happens really. We know that this is very difficult to compute because this kind of data need to be very long, observed to very long period of time, and technology evolves very fast. So it's very difficult to have this time available to compute this effect. And the point is that when we manage to have the data, the technology has already been passed by something else. The products change every 36 months on average. For those that do some econometrics, we know that when you want to compute these causal effects, you need to have long data or something that happens before and after sufficiently for a long period that allows to compute these impacts. And this is really very, very difficult. And the other point that is related to this lack of impartial evidence is that even when it is possible, it is not done. So, for example, in high-income countries, where this study can be more available than in other contexts, we see, for example, in United Kingdom, 7% of companies did randomized trials. This is really to evaluate the causal impact I was talking about, and only 80% did academic studies on the impact. And frankly, the most worrisome point is that very often the evidence is produced by those that sell the products to the big corporates. And so this really contradicts independent assessment. I heard about the expectation of this conference, about the fact if technology is able to reach the underserved. In fact, in some context, it succeeded in fulfill this expectation. But that it doesn't need to be a very advanced technology to do that. Very often is the low-tech technology, not the high-tech technology, that allows to reach the underserved. It's radio, television that allows to reach the underserved. And there is a lot of this evidence coming from Latin America, where there is evidence of the positive impact that radio, for example, has produced in disseminating learning by broadcast and reaching those that are in remote areas or the underserved. And the TV managed to increase enrollment by 18%. The other groups that really can benefit of technology are students with disabilities, with assistive technologies, for instance. They help, this technology help to learn if they are deployed appropriately in the schools. And potentially, and this we have seen, for example, in the Global Education Monitoring Report that we published in 2018 on migration and displacement, those in emergencies. So this is really something that needs to be said. For some of the underserved, technology can help, but at the same time, we need to focus on an important concept. The right to education is not the right to a meaningful connection. I mean, it's not the right to be connected. And the point is that increasingly, this is becoming a synonym. So right to education means a right to education when you are connected. And we have seen that during the pandemic, 460 million of young people that were, for example, had to access the digital platforms were suddenly excluded. 500 million of learners were in primary and secondary education were left out of education suddenly when learning moved online. These are a huge number, with potentially huge learning losses that will take a lot of time to reabsorb. So in terms of quality, again, the message the report gives is very nuanced. Of course, in some contexts, for some learners, technology helps. But not for everyone, not for every learner, not for every context. The report also shows that exposure to technology can be really detrimental. I will talk briefly about that, when it is excessive. I know this is a heated debate, but what we have found in the report is that at the moment of the launch of the report, only less than 1/4 of countries globally didn't want people, so forbidden the use of smartphone in school. Only less than 1/4. And one of the big messages of the report, and I think we are all in agreement, that the importance of education is to learn, is not to distribute input, is not to distribute laptop, is not to distribute tablets, is not to distribute computer, is to learn. And what we have seen is that, for example, if we look at the number of countries that use this one computer per child, or one laptop per child, or one tablet per child, they have a lot have stopped doing that. So when we have collected the information in the peer, the country profiles enhancing education reviews for technology, what we have seen is that they have passed from 30% at the global level before 2010 to 15%, so they cut by half. The important point is that they are not doing that. They are not distributing one computer, one tablet, but they are kind of deploying this bring your own device, bring your own technology at school, which is even worse at the level of equity, because of course those that are the poorest risk to be left behind. And in addition, there is no regulation about that. And an important point that is related to quality is that technology, again, need not to be advanced to have an effect. And in fact, there is one example that we report in the, there are many examples, but one that is really significant concerning something that, an initiative that was, that took place in China, where some lessons by the best teachers were recorded. And they were distributed to 100 million of rural students that otherwise would have not learned in the same way. And what the impact evaluation show is that this initiative improved outcomes by 32%. Not only improved learning outcomes, it also improved earnings after 10 years. So this was simply recording the lesson and distributing to students. It was not distributing a computer or connecting. And so also in terms of efficiency, there are many issues that prevent the use of technology in education management from fulfilling its potential. I think one of the important issues here is that is related to the fact that there is a lack of preparation. So we collect enormous amount of data, but we don't know how to use that. So learning data analytics can improve feedback, but very few people know how to use it. And there is a lack of transparency, and even if online coaching can be effective, it is not effective as in person. But it can be cheaper, that's one thing. Okay. There are also issues related to the maintenance. So the fact that countries must ensure the provision, operation, and maintenance of technology infrastructure. The access to technology, as I said at the beginning, remain very unequal, both at home and in schools. And distance learning has failed to reach all learners. And also the fact that governance of education is very fragmented. Very often, the governance of technology in education is not within the Ministry of Education. It is within another ministry. And these ministries don't necessarily talk to each other. So the fragmentation of governance is an issue also. There is an issue of lack of regulation and lack of relevance. 92% of the content that is online is in English. And so this means that is not necessarily relevant for many students. And it doesn't necessarily take into account their identity, their personal needs. The issue of sustainability, the issue that very often technology in education is bought just to fill some gap. We don't think about the long-term cost. We don't think about the long-term consequences of adopting technology in education. First of all, because there is a lack of empirical evidence, a lack of peer-reviewed evidence, but also because very often resources are bought without thinking about the real cost and without thinking about if they are used. So this study in the United States has shown that 2/3 of the licenses that are bought in schools are not used. We are talking about a huge amount of money. We are not talking about 500 euros. We are talking about $1 million. And something that we have estimated the full cost of a digital transformation and for this report, and we have shown that a full digital transformation in education will cost $1 billion per day just to operate in poorest countries. And this will bring these poorest countries very, very far from achieving SDG 4. very quickly, because I know that I'm exhausting my time, I think. Okay, I don't know what's happened. Um, the, this is something that is very interesting. So maybe you don't know, but in addition to the GEM report, to the Global Education Monitoring Report, every year since 2020, we collect information about legislation and policies about the topics of the global report. And we do that for 211 education systems every cycle of the report. So in the case of technology of education, we have looked at a lot of issues. These information are on the website education-profiles.org if you want to go and see them. And then we map the information. So for example, we ask ourselves, how many countries have this kind of legislation? How many countries have not this regulation? This is really just an example of what we have done, but it's quite clear that there are very, very little regulation in areas that are crucial and critical for technology in education. So for example, only 19% of countries have a law that regulate the use of personal devices in school. Only 20% of countries give subsidies or deduction to families most in need to buy the devices. And we have looked also, for example, at the legislation for the universal provision of electricity and also for internet, and you see the values are very low, 27%, 37%. So, I mean, there is not enough regulation in this area that is critical, regulation in this area. Why? Because we are moving, and we will discuss this later, on a kind of uncharted territory that is the territory of artificial intelligence. And we lack regulation on important things like data protection, safety and security. We lack this important regulation. And also, this is something that it's a very heated debate, the use of smartphone in classroom. And we have, through this work on the peer, we have seen that less than, at the moment of the launch of the report, less than 1 in 4 countries have either a law or a policy that ban the use of phone in classroom. But since the launch of the report, we are at 1 in 3. And very often, when they change the law, they mention this report, which is nice to know that we have managed, and important, especially to know that we have managed to influence policies. There are some examples. I'm not going through that. You can go in the report. But what is important when we talk about the ban of phones is that because there are studies that show that when you ban cell phone in schools, you have positive impacts. You have positive impacts on learning. You have positive impacts on engagement. You have positive impacts on, in terms of the declining distraction. And it's not just for phone, it's also for the use of social media. Social media use within classroom or outside the classroom, especially for girls, reinforce gender norms, which is another issue that's related to artificial intelligence. And the excessive exposure to the screens, as we say, is not just phone, it's the screen, can have negative impact on physical health, on mental health, on well-being, and well-being is very important to learn. It has impact on learning also in terms of increased distraction. And what's really important to say is that, for example, there have been studies that have shown that even a notification with a phone needs 20 minutes to refocus on what, even if we don't realize, we have our phone, there is a kind of beep that we hear, 20 minutes to refocus on what we were doing before. So I have no time to go through that, but just to tell you that, in fact, we have launched also a gender report in April this year. And the discussion of STEM is really very important for girls because it's important to say is that they are still underrepresented in STEM, and they are still underrepresented in STEM even if they are those that manage to get best results in science, but they are not among the top students. Very often you find boys among the top students and not girls. And one of the issues that is really, I don't know if I have the slide here. Yes, what's really interesting in relation to that is what we call mathematics anxiety. Because of gender norms, because of stereotype, because of family values or social norms, or even teacher preparedness, we see that girls are much more anxious about mathematics than boys. And this is really something that can or might explain the fact that we find so few girls in STEM. But the fact of finding few girls in STEM, the main issue here is that it's an issue for the future, especially now that we are moving towards the artificial intelligence, because those that are designing the algorithm are men. And so it means that the algorithms are biased. The algorithm creates further discrimination. I mean, we will have time to... And the digital transformation is led by men, even if women are doing very well in science and mathematics. So just to skip, I talk about that in a very narrative way. So the idea is that really the technology has risk, open risk for students, open risk within school and outside school. There are issues that are related to exposure to violence, to gender-based violence in schools, to cyberbullying. Very few countries talks about or regulate cyberbullying, address cyberbullying in legislation. And all this has a lot of effects in terms of depression, anxiety, an enormous amount of other dimensions like feeding, how you eat, how you behave, how you sleep. So it's really a lot. And we launched the youth report 1 month ago. It was done in consultation with the youth. So you will find it also on the website. And it represents really the perspective of youth in terms of technology, about the equity of technology, the quality of technology as youth perceive it. And I close with the recommendation. I think that it's very important to think about why we are using technology in education, why technology in education is deployed. And here there are trade-offs. There are trade-offs that are here because, of course, we know that technology can help can have positive effect in terms of personalization of education, and it offers flexibility, so there is the issue of personalization or adaptation or flexibility versus the social dimension of education, the fact of learning in a classroom. This is the first trade-off. The second trade-off is the inclusivity. So technology helps to include some, but exclude many, many more. When you move online and you don't have the devices, you don't have the connectivity. There is also the trade-off between the commercial interest and the public good. Very often when we hear about technology in education, we think about commercial interest. But we need to think that education is a public good. This is really what matters here. And the other point is the short-term efficiency versus the long-term cost. So the report asks policymakers, decision-making, to ask for a question before deploying technology in education. Is it scalable? Is it sustainable? Is it appropriate for the countries? Is it equitable? And there are a number of questions and facts that can help guide to answer this question. At the same time, we see that this is not the way very often technology is deployed in education. It's just deployed to plug a short-term issues. And I am done. I think just to say that what is important, very often also when we talk about technology, we don't think about the environment. And this is something that is critical in the discussion of artificial intelligence. There is the Environmental Federation that published a study 2 or 3 years ago showing that if we could extend the life of all smartphones in the EU, this would be equivalent to get off of the road 1 million of cars in terms of CO2 emission. And this is very little done, so it's very important to think about it. And to conclude, this is the main recommendation. Put the learner at the center. The first issue is the learner, is not the technology. Don't think in terms of input, think about in terms of learning outcomes. And think about technology as something that can be useful if complement the human dimension. Teachers are the most important thing. They should be prepared. They should be able to deal with technology in school, but there are many other things that are important, like the critical thoughts, creativity, empathy, and this is not what you learn in learning technology. This is what you learn when you learn in classroom. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Anna. Restez avec nous,
Merci
parce que c'est le moment des questions-réponses.
beaucoup. Thank you very much, Anna, and stay with us. It's time for a Q&A session. Anna gave us a lot of information. Sometimes it is a challenging information. Who would like to ask the first question? Who would like to come up with the first question? For online question, do not hesitate to give us these, to send us questions.
Protocol to my ambassador representative. It's good to have you in the room. My name is Tony Ndongo. I'm from Kenya. I have so much to say about that presentation. I am a speaker though, so I will reduce my my question. So when you did that report, which I studied because of course I was told that I would be coming to speak about it, I read it and I even sat with a group of young folks and talked about young folks and talked about it. It was a lot of the information you gathered was pre-2023, so 2022 leading up to 2023. 2022 November is when I believe OpenAI put out ChatGPT 3. Would it be a stretch to say that a lot of the information you have presented to us, as appropriate and correct as it is pre-AI, and therefore, it's not wrong, it's very, very correct, but then it's almost of a different, I don't know what the word is in French, different dispensation. Because when we talked about personalized learning pre-AI, having been in education technology for 10 years now, 12, the personalized education was rudimentary and there was always a man or a woman in the middle of that personalized information. But now post-AI, and you're looking at it, and it's moved from 3 to 3.5 to 4, and we both know 5 and 6 are on their way, a lot of the challenges you're going to be discussing, with social media, for example, being a challenge, will not be an issue in education anymore, because social media will be pulled out of education and just personalized AI. If you remember, I don't know how many of you have seen what Mark Zuckerberg showed up with maybe 2-3 weeks ago, and you just have a personalized AI that just does that. Does that then mean that the world has changed drastically?
No. So the short, I have my mic. Thanks a lot. That's a wonderful question, because I mean, by the way, it will help also in the debate. I don't think so. I think that I mean, my answer is really, in a shortcut, is no, because we asked ourselves this question when we were writing the report. You know, in September, October, December, in 2022, ChatGPT appeared, and the world was completely, I would say, shaken. But we thought about that, and we realized that, in fact, many of the conclusions of the report really are appropriate. I would say most, because the fact is that it's the same. Technology is a tool, and artificial intelligence is a tool. It's nothing more than that. What matters is the human intelligence. And so the fact that we say that when you deploy technology, you need to think about this question, because when you think about artificial intelligence, you can say, okay, personalized learning, we agree, intelligent tutoring system, the fact of they can correct a lot of issues, and they can also reveal cheating. They can be used, the use in education of artificial intelligence go back to 40 years. It's not new. What is new is the chatbot, is the fact that it's publicly available. So that's the first point. And the risk it opens when you think about of it to people that are not able to use it. So there is an issue of how we can prepare people to use it, how we can prepare teachers to teach it, how we can prepare students to understand what is fake and what is not fake. So that's really what I was saying at the end of my talk, saying what we need to ask is, what is the education system we want? We want an education system where we want young people and every kind of learner learning throughout life and understand, being able to use these tools. Okay? We cannot say it's yes or no. I think we need to give the capacity, we need to build a generation that are able to use these tools. And this is why UNESCO has been working a lot in developing these competency frameworks. The last one was launched in September, the competency framework. There is a competency framework for teachers, a competency framework for students. There is the ethics recommendation on artificial intelligence, and that's the word. I think that's really the point. It's a point about being ethical, respect the human right, create. The creativity, the empathy allows people, the critical thoughts, these are the competency that allows to use it. So that's why I say no. I don't think that the world of education should be completely overwhelmed by this. There should be really development in place to understand how to use it, to understand the risks and opportunities. That's
Thank you, Anna. We have many more questions, so je vais poser une question de nos participants.
A question from our online participant, Jeff Peller, asks us,
add value to the social dimension of education. And maybe if you allow me, Anna, I would ask you all to maybe, you've seen those nice color cards, to maybe raise a green or red or an orange card if you agree with it, or if you don't think it can add a social dimension to education, please raise the red card, and otherwise the green card. And so we will listen to Anna, but also to you, to just have your meaning.
That's another interesting question, a little bit more specific, because I mean, I had no time to go through all of these different kind of technology, but there have been studies that have shown, for example, that technology that helps people to collaborate, to solve problems together is very effective, is very positive. So again, I didn't talk about the digital competency, but in Europe we had the DIGCOMP, that was this digital competency framework, and some of the competencies that are in this competency framework are not related to technology. So when technology succeeds in making people working together, it adds on a social dimension. When technology isolates people, is not helping anyone. I was presenting last week in Marseille, and I found a statistic that is very interesting. Loneliness. So if you look at the longevity issue, the cause for mortality, there is a study in the United States in 2017 that has shown tabagism is 30%, loneliness, it's between 70 and 80% of mortality causes. And we know that this is something that the technology push a lot to do, to be lonely in front of screens.
On a beaucoup de questions, donc je voudrais donner l'opportunité.
We have many questions. Who has set up the green card? We listen to you. Please stand up and use the microphone, of course.
Yes. Why do you think?
Hi, my name is Ira, and I used to be an educator, and I'm now working on projects. And my personal opinion is that technology can be useful, absolutely, in connecting with others. I know, for example, I connected with a lot of people during COVID while we were all locked up. And we can talk about personal things, but also professional things, and we got a lot done. But I must say that I was not a child during this time. I had had an education, and I had had a childhood. And I do think it must have been different for a child to go through it. I was much more prepared in the conversations that I had with the other adults through this time. And that's why I raised my card, my green card.
Merci, thank you very much.
Merci à vous.
J'ai vu des cartes oranges par là. Qui a levé une carte orange?
I saw orange cards. Who put an orange card?
Donc, merci de vous lever, de donner votre
Thank you.
nom.
Stand up, give your name. In French, it's okay? Yes. Please feel free. Maintenant, UCL Belgium, orange, because I think that technology can indeed help people to be in contact and to cooperate, but it's also negative because we remain behind our screen or in front of our screen, and therefore we have no real contacts, and that's regrettable. A question from the room. Is there any other question in the meeting room? Just looking here around. Yes, hello.
Donc, moi, c'est Mona Larossi. Je vais
Mona Larossi. I'm going to speak later. I'm the CEO of EFEF. My question is the following: a clarification, not a question. Your first slide, you said that e-book was interesting for online courses, and afterwards you said that every 36 months the technology is making progress. Personally, I've seen that people are not interested anymore in the e-books. It disappeared. During the COVID period, it was easy, of course, you could get access to books very quickly, but did you take this into account, the 36 months? And this is just a clarification.
Alors, ça, c'est vraiment spécifique.
Yes, this is very specific. when we said there were more users, it was related to, but the 36-month technology evolution, that's different. It's the time to replace one technological product by another on the market. You need 36 months. We are not talking about the same object, but the question you raise, it's also very interesting compared to different level of education, because e-books, well, this is more for higher education. When we are talking about the 36 times or month technology, we are talking about secondary or primary schools as well, and therefore it's difficult to evaluate, to assess. Thank you very much. Time is flying. Now we are going to welcome, because we are very lucky today. We have the ambassador of Kenya in Brussels is going to introduce the debate, but for all the person online, we noted your questions and your remark, and you will receive an answer per mail, but unfortunately we have to keep going.
Where are you? Ah, voilà. Hi. Let me call you on the floor. Thanks very much. Mr. Bitangendemo, you can choose wherever you want to. Yeah, you can, and I'll give you the mic. Just a little word to present you. Well, you were not there, but I said I wouldn't decline CVs and loads of professional experience, but you are someone who recently actually added the function of ambassador to a many and diverse array of functions and engagements you have, mainly on ICT and entrepreneurship and the impact of ICT on development in Africa. So you are columnist, writer, panel member in UN and OECD's, minister or secretary of the Ministry of Telecommunication, of ICT, professor at university, next to being an ambassador. For each speaker, we have a kind of a one-liner that describe you, and I hope this is fine. I found one on your website saying that you are an open data, big data evangelist, and dedicate to simplification of data to ordinary citizens to consume. Does that describe you? Exactly. Great. Thank you very much. The floor is yours.
You can hear me? I'm still learning French. Next year I will speak to you in French. And I must apologize that I came late, but we had agreed that I try my best to be here. In fact, this morning, up to around 10:30, we had a function at the EU on data stewardship. How do we manage data in such a way that we don't compromise the privacy, we don't compromise on security. And then we were supposed to finish at 10, but there were too many questions. It went all the way. Then I'm late. I wish I came early to hear what you've been discussing, because this is an area that I like most. But the morning session that we had at the EU sort of dovetails into what you are discussing here. There is tremendous change that is going on globally, everywhere. And in the morning we were arguing how do we leverage data to solve SDGs. I've actually been writing broadly that this is the time that we can deal with issues like poverty and finish with it, because we have data, we can predict the outcomes. We now predict the rainfall patterns. We predict a lot of things. If we are able to predict, then we can predict individual revenue of somebody. How much does someone need to survive? And then we work backwards. But it's not very easy to do that. It's not very easy to do that because we have data in all places that would help us to predict on how to help an individual from poverty to bring them to where we desire them to be. These are the things that we're working on now. But because I was requested to speak in the area of education, I think that was, we met last week and asked, oh, can you come and speak? I said, yes, I didn't get the topic right, but that is the topic. That is the topic, isn't it? Okay. Yeah. Let me now address that issue. I will talk about what AI can do to help us in dealing with SDGs, because even education is there, poverty is there. Others are talking about the risks of AI. Others are talking about the benefits of AI. But we need to meet somewhere and agree how to move forward. Now, I will disclose also that I'm one of the members of the Global Learning Council. The Global Learning Council has been looking at new methods of teaching. But the problem is that if we went ahead and disclose everything, what AI can do, we will be fighting unions because they would say, where will teachers go? Of course, they will go somewhere. There's some places they would go. The same thing we did when ICT came and we said, we don't need computers because we would not have secretaries and other things. We have learned that. But AI, we've been talking about the ethics of it, which is very key, but also people are talking about it's going to take jobs. How many minutes do I have? Oh, 10 minutes. It's good I asked. I was planning to speak for 1 hour, but that's okay. But what is happening in a very simple way? I've been teaching for many years, almost 30 years, at the university. And this is what I discovered as a teacher, is that in any class you walk into, there is some 5% that you actually don't need to teach. You tell them the syllabus and whatever, they will come prepared. There is some 20% who watch you keenly, and you begin to see their eyes that something is bothering them, but they get it. There is another 20% who, with time, by the end of the semester, they will begin asking you questions which you taught in the first session. But they still have their time of comprehension, of cognition, of understanding. There is another group. In your prayers in the evening, you say, God help these ones to be able to understand. They are not foolish, because education is like a farm of roses. There are some that pop up early, some in the middle, and some at the end. Personally, the ones whom we considered foolish in school, when I was in school, they are the best entrepreneurs. In fact, they tell you, can I buy you lunch? And I don't have money to buy them lunch. So much so to say that you did well. Because they take longer to get concepts, and that's how God created them. And this is what AI is beginning to show us, that when you teach different kids, they absorb or understand or they get cognition with time, but they have their space. And once they understand it, they will be as competitive as those ones who receive it instantly. I think recently you've seen that AI is going to facilitate cognition, even be able to deal with issues that are complex, like mental health. Of course, some people are saying some people may give birth and they make geniuses out of AI. That is the ethics of it. Should we be growing the way we've been growing, or should we facilitate that? That I don't have answers. But what I know is that AI is going to enable us to do much more than we have done before in terms of dealing with pressing issues in society. I don't have to go to deep details, but what stops us from that is the fear that some will lose jobs, which is completely false. So if we improved productivity, we should be able to feed people, to provide a means of earning, but instantly now, nobody can predict that we can absorb everybody who is teaching and put them in some place. But some jobs are going to emerge around the spaces. Nobody knew that some of the jobs we do today would be there. And that is the patience that we need to allow innovation to proceed in a more responsible way. Then we figure out how we can live in this world. I have 1 more minute, 2 minutes, 2 more minutes. So in a very simple way, I'm trying to say here is that we have reached, probably technology has brought us to the best where we should be to deal with most pressing issues. I know some people are saying about ethics. Ethics would be managed. People are blaming social media for many things, but there used to be propaganda before. We didn't complain that the Soviet Union is doing propaganda on this and stuff. It's the same thing, by the way. It's just that it's now affecting individuals. We should find ways of managing such like things. My thinking comes from a different space, that we should enable these technologies to proceed, develop good solutions for humanity, and then mitigate against the negative effects of technology. It would happen. It would happen throughout. People die when they are eating food if they put too much in the mouth. So we need to figure out how to manage the technology and enable humanity. So I would stop here. And
thank you very much
for
this very inspiring speech. Thank you. Stay with us a little bit. You still have a few minutes for us?
I can take any questions.
I want to take the opportunity also to ask you for all applause for Anna, because we forgot to applaud her. This was very inspiring, Your Excellency. Thank you very much for this speech. I'm sure there are questions. Please raise your voice.
Can I make a comment and then ask a question?
Yeah, sure. Please, at the back, don't hesitate. Otherwise, collaborate to find a question, a statement, and so on. We all have a voice here.
So I haven't said hello to him. His Excellency Bitang Ndem was the permanent secretary in Kenya when I started the NILAB, and my friend Eric Husman started the iHub. And with him, with him as the permanent secretary of ICT, we built Silicon Savannah. So me, Eric, and him built that tech ecosystem in East Africa that you've been seeing, that is now...
pushed me to release data from government.
Yes.
For them to work.
For us to be able to work.
And they were not kind to me.
Yeah, we were not. We were sorry. We were young and stupid. This is 2009, so this is a gentleman that we all respect in technology, and we applaud you very, very much for that. My question is very simple. I wish you heard what Anna said, because the perspective with which the European world is looking at, and you're going to see this in my presentation, artificial intelligence, and the perspective with which the American world is looking at AI is very different. Europe is very, I'm going to use this word very lightly, conservative. I was going to say scared, but conservative, let's use your word. Your word is fine. Whereas American is very boisterous. Why? And how can we change that? And I know
Well,
you're not European, but yeah.
Yeah. Americans innovate, Chinese imitate, and Europeans regulate. So you can actually go to, you can prove that. You regulate, yeah. But one thing you should know, one thing you must know, that innovation must precede regulation. That's where Europe gets it wrong. I stood up when the AI data was being passed here, and I said, you don't know what's going to come out. What are you going to regulate? People said, no, we must do it. But it has stifled innovation in some way because some Europeans are in the US working to do things in a much more, in an environment that is not restrictive. But you have helped. But again, us in Africa, we copied GDPR. Copying. The GDPR is the best law. We copied and took it to Africa. It is undermining us today. We need data to train AI models in health. But the data protection officers know that they put it in a lock and they close it there. So it doesn't allow us to benefit. So some things are done somewhere, then we are told you can take the medication when we could train those models for our own use. That is where it has reached. That's why we had this morning thing to talk about stewardship. How do we use it responsibly? How can we, such questions, but we need to sit down like this and ask those questions. How can we use this tool responsibly? If we don't open the data, we are done. You know, much of poverty reduction, especially in Kenya, came from AI through the telcos, which began to develop, to look at credit scores using AI. And now every poor person gets money from the bank. Just a few years ago, you had to wear a tie to get loan from an international bank, you know, and those people never returned the money. The interest went so high. Now credit score has changed. We have brought in terms like inclusivity to see everybody. So the benefits are actually more than when we put restrictions. The first time we opened the data for them to develop various tools, various solutions, everybody said, this is WikiLeaks. We are going to give Americans data. We said, but already they have it. Why you stop this? Now it changed. We have so many solutions out of Kenya. We have AI solutions for teaching kids. I mean, that were never, we were not able to teach those kids because they had autism. Now AI tells them, some parents, this kid is autistic. The parents are refusing because number one thing is you refuse when your child is being accused of some disease. So we need this technology somehow, and then we discuss about ethics of it.
I have one more question for you coming from online, from Maddie Millet. How can technology, and in particular generative AI, be integrated into the curriculum to ensure ethics, inclusions, and critical thinking? This is a broad question.
Critical.
Should I repeat?
I understand what you are saying. People say about the critical thinking and other things. Whether the answers are there, you still have to crank up your head and be able to know how to deal with issues. Um, I'm not against generative AI, and one of the places we visit with our education attaché, we visit universities here. When we were at University of Ghent, we were told they allow, use the AI. But when you use it on your thesis, you leave your thesis there and explain the concept, which means once it comes out, you have to read it, either memorize it or do whatever you want to do to defend it. Yeah, to defend it. I'm not saying that nobody can say generative AI is going to make us more foolish. It won't. It's actually going to make us much, much more better than where we've come from.
Thank you very much.
I can defend that, but you don't give me time.
I'm sorry. If we'd had 2 days. Well, thank you very much for being with us. If you can stay longer, you're most welcome, because there's a voice that you have as well. I didn't mention that, but you also are in board of private companies and industries, which is very interesting to discuss about AI. If you can stay a bit longer, you're most welcome. If not, I imagine you have a very...
I'll pretend that I stay a little longer than I leave, but I have to be somewhere in a few minutes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So all this deserves a debate. Je pense qu'on a vraiment beaucoup de choses à partager. On a la chance d'avoir des
I think we
orateurs.
have a lot of things to talk about. We have high-profile speakers. Of course, if you do want to take a cup of coffee or whatever, you can do so, but please stay here in the room. Mona Larousse is now going to take the floor. She's the General Director of IFEF, the Institute of the Francophonie for Education. She's part, this organization is also part of the World Organization. And Mona is saying that perseverance is what is making impossible possible, possible feasible, and feasible achieved. So this is a sentence from Leon Trotsky. So let me repeat. Perseverance is what is making impossible possible, possible feasible, and feasible realized or achieved. So, Mona, could you tell us a little more about that? We have more or less 15 minutes together, questions included. Well, perseverance, because I'm working in a multicultural environment between different countries, and sometimes culture is very different from one country to another. If you do not show perseverance, you cannot do anything. Sometimes people tell me that I'm pushing, but no, I'm not pushing. I'm just someone who is perseverant, and that's what allowed me to be where I am today. Mona is going to take us in a travel towards the future, so please be ready and stay in your seat with your safety belt. I'm going to try and use the time as best as I can. I'm just using my presentation here. I am with people here and others online. I would like to introduce my institute. So my institute is from the International Organization of the Francophonie, IVF. So that's the organization that celebrated its the summit 2 years ago in Paris. We are based in Dakar. We work on SDG 4, 5, and 8. And we work along different lines, especially bilingual or plurilingual teaching. So the national African languages next to French. We use national African languages next to French. We work with other organizations and especially Après, that is supporting us in Senegal, in Benin and DRC to deploy the teachers training to be able to touch the child. We have to go through the teacher. You know, we always have one teacher who remains a symbol who will always remember. So we would like to insist upon the very important role played by teachers. Technologies can also help women. We have a program to keep as long as possible girls and women in the classroom. And we also have a pedagogical innovation program. Vocational training, so this is another topic, but for the afternoon. Now, IA in the education sector. I would like to ask one question. Who is a teacher here in the room and online? Are there teachers here in the room? Okay, thank you. Please take a paper. Those who are afraid of IA will take the red paper. Those who are afraid that IA is going to take their place and put them unemployed. So you take the red card. And the others who have some doubts take the orange card. And those who are not afraid of IA because AI is a tool like others, you take the green card. No red, that's great. No red. If you want to change color, you can do so. During my presentation, if you feel you have to change color, you can do so. We were referring to critical thinking. Well, that's what matters most. We have AI, and what can we do with AI and take it as something positive? I'm going to look at the training of teachers, adaptation of programs, and rethinking the assessment process. The first topic, why do we have to train teachers to AI? So why? Why is this a training of teachers regarding artificial intelligence important? Why?
Okay.
It's a tool.
Ok, ça c'est super, oui.
You
Okay.
save time. Your name and please stand up. Jonathan was saying that it helps to save time that you can use for other purposes. Someone told me, why are you using AI? And I answer, well, he answers on my behalf, in my place, when I'm angry. So that's what I answered. Are you sure that we have to train teachers? I don't know. Yes, maybe we have to be trained because we are already using AI.
C'est bon? Ok, ben, la rive gauche n'a pas eu ça.
Okay, the other side of the room.
Hello, everyone. I don't think it's so much really as a training. I because personally as a teacher, we've had workshops in school about, for example, using ChatGPT or really other forms of AI. I think it's really more about educators and teachers as stakeholders. You're either scared of it or, you're, oh my God, I need to do this and I don't do this. So you have a certain form of FOMO. I think it's about creating a space where educators can talk about it, explore it, and think about the different ways in which they think they can use it, and also possibly discuss points of contention, tension, and problems that could emerge in their classrooms.
Okay.
Could we have your name?
Sorry, yes. My name is Zuili.
Thank you.
Bon, là, vous m'avez facilité la tâche. Donc,
Okay, you made my life easier. Why should we train teachers? Well, especially to avoid an uncontrolled use of AI, to make sure that AI is efficiently used in the training, in the educational process. But only a few countries have a national framework to train teachers. So this would be a good opportunity to create that framework, to train the teachers. AI is also evolving very quickly. So I'm training them today. For AI, it's 5 or 6 months' time, and then it changes. So should we train the teachers every 6 months? Or should we develop an ongoing or lifelong learning process so that teachers are always updated? Until now, we had the relation between the teacher and the student. The teacher is half God or even God, and he has all the information, the knowledge, and the children, the students, are there to listen to the teacher. But this model has changed. We have introduced a digital part. So the teacher is speaking and the student is Googling the answer and checking. And now it's even one step further because we have the artificial intelligence. We have new roles, new models, and we have to train the teacher to be able to manage the different roles. As the ambassador said, we also have to develop a critical way of thinking, a critical mind. We have to train the teacher regarding the limits of AI, and that's what he has to transmit to his students. He has to talk about the limitations and the limits of AI, taking on board ethics, sovereignty, and privacy of data. During the COVID pandemic, teachers were using a lot of tools, and they included a lot of data about themselves and their students on the net, on the internet. And as you know, this is also a source of information for others who are going to use and to analyze the data. So data can be collected and analyzed in a very positive way. Connectivity or accessibility. Unfortunately, we do not all have access to the digital world in the same way. We are not all enjoying the same connectivity. And this should not deepen further inequalities. Within IFEF, we use what we call, we have a concept which is solidarity in terms of internet. You are in Brussels, you can click on your phone, you have access to everything, but this is not the case in many other countries. So AI should not deepen this gap furthermore between countries or people. We also have to take on board specific needs of students. So inclusion. Students with specific needs have also to be integrated. Are you still keeping your red
and orange colors, or yes, a reaction online. José, Josiane, and Olfa are saying AI has a lot of opportunities regarding the improvement of learning process because it avoids repetitive tasks. So we have 3 people online who are in favor of AI. Okay, it avoids repetitive tasks. I would like to come back to the framework of UNESCO. What can we introduce? 3 levels. The first one, as you said, Oriane, is the level of personalization. So everyone, when I use that word, was thinking that I was dreaming, personalization. But today, things have changed. Personalization has improved. So the 3 levels are, first, personalization of assessments, pathways, avoiding repetitive tasks, focusing on added value tasks, high-level tasks. The second level used in the framework of UNESCO, which I consider to be very interesting, is creation. The teacher becomes a creator of pedagogical tools, like a chatbot. And third level, integration. AI has to be integrated into the different curricula. So these are 3 levels. And they don't have to come one after the other. No. You cannot have all teachers as creators or users. No, but these are the 3 levels we have today at the level of UNESCO, as I said. So why are we talking about critical mind? So why are we talking about AI and critical thinking? Are they connected or no? Why? Why is this topic again on the agenda today? Why today more than yesterday are we talking about critical thinking or mind? Were our parents more, or had our parents more this critical mind than we have today, or why? Ides Nicaise, Université de Louvain.
It's always necessary, but it's all the more necessary now because we know that AI has been misused and is being misused and is creating a fictitious world and misleading young people. So in this way, critical thinking is more necessary now than it used to be.
Mona, je vais faire appel à votre mémoire parce que je vais prendre plusieurs questions, plusieurs réactions à la fois.
I'm going to take different questions or reactions.
Hello, I'm Mariko. Thank you so much for the talk. So I think critical thinking towards AI is really important because AI answer what they provide is, of course, only one perspective of what they see from the computer perspective. So I think it just gives us one option of the possible answers, but there could be so many different perspectives or way of thinking. So I think it's very important to see what AI provides us critically or in a more creative filter to have enrichness. Yes, that's my perspective.
Ça se voit qu'elle fait un PhD.
Sorry. Hi again. I just have a small thing to add to what both of them said, which is also that we all know that there are a lot of biases which are sort of fed into also the kind of data that goes into training the AI itself. And we see those biases prop up. For example, I have encountered those biases when I was working with ChatGPT, and I just asked it a question to give me a history of Kathak, which is a traditional Indian dance form. And it gave me the regular history as it is. But then I asked it to give me a non-hegemonical, Brahminical view of what it is. So I think it's really important to understand the kind of coded biases that are in AI And I think that's why critical thinking is also super necessary. Like our students need to know that.
Thank you, merci. Je prends encore quelques questions. Je pense que la question aussi de l'éducation de l'AI à jouer et le rôle qu'on a à éduquer l'AI.
Indeed, educating AI is important, and we have a role to play.
I'm Kirsten from Enable. I'm a bit sick, so sorry for my voice. But I think we should remember AI is a language model, or at least the applications we know today. It's a language model. It replicates what is there in the language. It's not a thinking entity. Let's not forget that. It's not, and yes, different perspectives, but different perspectives it gets from different language examples. So in that sense, we should never forget that it's just giving a knowledge transfer. That's what it does. So it will never replace a teacher. The teacher will have a different role, and the role of the teacher will be to teach you competences, and that's why the critical thinking is very important. Yeah.
Merci. On prend encore deux réactions, monsieur et monsieur. Levez-vous.
Two more reactions.
I'm working in IT, and one thing also is AI can say the biggest nonsense in the most confident way. And then you say you're wrong, and it says I'm right. Yeah.
Si je prends l'exemple de l'Afrique, on n'a pas encore.
Let me take the example of Africa. We don't have AI everywhere. So critical mind, well, today we have access to information, to a large quantity of data. If you look what's on WhatsApp, Facebook, and things of the kind. So what is important is to have this critical mind to be able to sort all this information out. Very quickly, I'm not going to comment what you said, because this is exactly what I was going to say. AI is there to help us. It's not necessarily that everything produced by AI is correct. No. We have to learn the student to check if the information is correct or not. And we also have to deconstruct the different stereotypes or bias. A lot of Kenyans are working with AI to de-build stereotypes based on gender or color. And then you have all the fake and false data. So second question, how can we adapt our programs? What should we do? All the slides will be available on the platform. You have to integrate everything which is digital literacy into AI programs. You have to strengthen this digital literacy and understand AI. Then you have to create a repository of AI skills for the country, and you also have to include modules on how to use AI. Very quickly, I tried to see whether there are things that can be used by the teacher. First, dictations, so you can fill in words, improve grammar and conjugation, literary passages and things of the kind. And you also have programs in mathematics and sciences that help the teacher, because the student, because you have AI that helps and AI that provides the answer. But you also have AI tools that go stepwise and explain the process to the student. Now, assessments. How can we assess the students today? I'm a president of different juries, and I know that a lot of motivation letters today are drafted by ChatGPT, and some even forget to take the first pass. So this is the answer of your question. No, they put everything. So I received the text as produced by ChatGPT. So how can we rethink assessment? I'm sure that you cannot ban AI. It's impossible. some universities can ban AI on their network, but I have my phone and I can use AI on my own phone. So it is impossible to ban or forbid this technology. So we just have to rethink the assessment format.
Repenser les formats d'évaluation en mettant plus l'oral.
Rethink assessment formats on stressing more the oral assessment. Okay, that's fine, but you have people who are afraid of taking the floor in front of a public, afraid of in-class presentations. Another option would be to return to in-class tabletop exams without access to digital tools. So no watches, no cellular phone. Okay, that's also one option. Another one would be to encourage assessments based on practical projects or sophisticated case studies, more sophisticated than what the AI of today can provide, and that require a cross-sectional approach. Another possibility, assess the ability to critically analyze, problem solve, and be creative. So not simply give the answer. No. I don't want you to restitute or to give back my course. No. I want you to be able to critically analyze what I have taught. And another option, a last option, would be to encourage a continuous assessment, so ongoing formative assessment. Every day the student will be assessed, and this is going to motivate the student because he has to work on an everyday basis, because he's assessed on an ongoing basis. And also academic reference to AI. So AI is there. How can we use it from an academic point of view? So, do you have other ideas?
Add on top that if you look under Bloom's taxonomy, which has various methods, actually is taken care of. It's just that what we were trained in terms of assessment is where we are stuck. If we cancel that one, everybody would shift to.
I can answer in French. On peut utiliser la taxonomie.
Yes, you can use Bloom's taxonomy in order to assess the skills of students, of pupils, through reference frameworks. I hope I answered your question. Unfortunately, it's very interesting, but we still have 2 speakers before lunchtime. You will be very hungry in half an hour. I would just like to conclude. Yes, of course, do conclude very, very briefly. I'm not going to tell you what we do, but at the FF, you will find a micro learning module on IA, intelligence, artificial intelligence. And for us, it is based on data, and data is on the internet. 80% of data are English, and they do not come necessarily from our countries. I work in French-speaking Africa, and the French culture, the African culture, is not necessarily on the internet. So we need to be there through our culture, through sharing information that others will discover us. And intelligence, artificial intelligence, should not only be based on existing English data. And this is the reason why it belongs to the critical thought. Just to conclude, I think that IA should be used as a tool and not as something to replace something else. It's very important for the teacher to be able to use IA to make also students and learners responsible. And we have the competencies, the skills of the 20th century. The 20th century is mean working together, not in an isolated way. Cooperation, this is essential. IA should be seen as a plus, as a trumpet for education and not as a problem. Thank you very much indeed.
Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Toutes les interventions sont passionnantes.
All the interventions are very interesting. Do not hesitate during the lunch break. You will have 1 hour, 1 hour and a half to indeed ask questions.
Tony is a full-breed serial entrepreneur. Am I right? He's started so many companies. He's also giving speeches, teaching. But what's really interesting us is your initiative Kitabu. I will keep on missing it. Kitabu for to integrate AI and digital skills for Kenyan students. Maybe it's going further already. Yeah. I found some strong statements about Tony, and so I'd like to read them to you. I believe that Africa isn't here to catch up. We're here to lead. AI is our equalizer. It's not just some fancy tech, it's how we solve our own problems. It's how we turn the tables. AI gives us the power to create our own opportunities. AI lets us write our own rules and show the world what Africa can do. We're not asking for a seat on the table, we're building our own. And the way Tony goes on with life is show up, innovate, and challenge the status quo. If you're ready to change the game, let's connect and make some noise. You have 15 minutes.
I will take even less than that. Okay. All right, so you can hear me? This is good? Yes, okay. Kitabu is a company I built because I'm dyslexic. I struggled. I was the flower that bloomed after school was over. It took me a very long time to get through it. It took me 10 years to finish my degrees. Average students took 4 years. That's how much I struggled. And Kitabu is Swahili for book, and in most of the countries in the world, and most languages, it also means book in some way, Urdu, Arabic, whatever it is. And I want to give you a short story which I will tell in 5 minutes. So the goal was scaling AI tutoring for quality learning in Africa. And I want to tell you a story, because I'm not a non-story person. This is Jane, and this is Julius. Jane is Julius's teacher, and she has taught Julius and kids like him for 7 to 10 years. But Jane and Julius have a problem. It's a very simple problem. It's not a big problem. It's just it's a simple problem. The amount of time Jane's daily life as a teacher is used in lesson planning, which is a requirement in Kenya, is about 40% of her day, creating a lesson plan. It's required for a teacher to create a lesson plan in the classroom, 40% of her day. And for Julius, he spends about 41% of his day waiting for Jane to come and teach him, because he's in a class of 40 students. And Jane is doing her best to talk to Julius. And it's not Jane's fault, it's not Julius's fault, it's not Kenya's fault. We are a country of children. More than half of us are under 23. Half. I don't know what Belgium is, but I don't think Belgium's like, I'm not sure it's like that. I think it's a bit different. It's slightly higher, slightly, just a bit. Okay, so that's how their lives are. One spends 40% of their time making a lesson plan, and the other one takes 41% of their time waiting for the lesson plan. So that's the catch. Lesson planning, waiting for a teacher. It's a real problem. And so what we came up with was an AI lesson plan creator for a teacher that used ChatGPT 3.5, and we put a database in the middle of all the content that they could use from the Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, which basically means we told the AI what to create for the teacher. It moved a thing that took 4.5 hours per week to something that takes less than 15 minutes a week, 2 minutes a day. And they even get 4 options that they can choose from for the lesson plan they have. This thing is supposed to play but PowerPoint. Then, for the kids, we created an AI tutor. We removed all the other stuff from the phone. Everything else was removed except setup. And so Manasi, which is Swahili for Learn With Us. And it's basically a chatbot that knows it's talking to a child, has limitations on what it can be able to do. There are guardrails. It can do it in English and Kiswahili and is using, as you all know, I think, I hope, is using voice prompts now. It was not before. When we did it, there were no voice prompts. Now there are voice prompts. And it's allowed kids to be able to ask questions because one of the biggest challenges children have in a classroom of 40 is self-esteem. They don't want to be the stupid kids in class. And so this changed the game a little bit. Jane's day changed. 42.9% of her time is spent talking to children, and 28.6% of her time is spent on self-development. If you remember, the previous slide showed it was 1.8% of her time developing herself. Julius's day has also changed. It's reduced from waiting for a teacher 42% of the time to 10% of the time. He's now doing group work because the kids want to work with each other. He's studying because he's got a personal AI tutor, and he's doing 25% of his assessments. He has 10% one-on-one time with the teacher. The teacher needs him less, he needs the teacher less, and he's doing better in class. How much better? This is August. In August, James was almost 2 years behind in his curriculum because of COVID. 2 years behind in August. By May of the next year, he was 6 months ahead. He jumped 24.8 months in 9 months. Not just him, his whole class. What I'm saying is, when he was in grade 7, he was doing grade 5 work in August. In May this year, he was doing grade 7 going to grade 8 work. I don't think you get it. Let me help you understand. When we did the report and we gave it back to the people who funded us, these two people invited us to talk about it. Because they've never seen that level of scoring in the work they have done in education, full stop. So he was obviously excited because Bill is the one who funded the product. And Sam was excited because he wanted to know what AI actually does for countries in the developing nations. The reason why I asked our ambassador what we will do about Europe is because this is what America did in less than 6 months. That's how hard they're looking to find proof that it works. I cannot wait to see what Europe does. And now we have a project partnership with the Kenyan government and the Nairobi County to try and replicate that in 2,800 schools in Nairobi, with 14,000 teachers and more than 400,000 students, just to see what it can do. That's the power of artificial intelligence. I'm not saying there are no gaps. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that when you have very few options, anything is better than nothing. And we've had nothing for a very long time. I hope that makes sense. Thank you very much.
Stay with us. No, you keep it.
I hope I kept to my 5 minutes. Did I keep my 5 minutes?
Yeah, you have another 5 minutes for questions and answer.
Any questions from anyone?
So, questions, reactions. Your mic? No, okay. We'll take this one. I will give you another one. No.
Thank you so much. I have a question regarding the teachers' use of the app you introduced. So I'm encountering this question that there are disparity between the attitude of the people who have access to the tools. So there are people who is really willing to take advantage, and they make a lot of explanation of what the tool can do for us, how it can enhance my performance, shorten my all these lengthy tasks, etc. While same group of people who has equal access to the same tool have some sort of yes, let's say I know the tool is there. Okay, their training taught me how to use it, so I know the benefits of it. But I don't know, it doesn't make me want to use it. So I have this question: what causes these gap in the same kind of group that has similar access and similar training, all this exposure. Do you have you seen that kind of situation, and what do you think is the reason? How did you overcome that?
I think he spoke to it earlier, the ambassador, when he talked about cultures, right? So I think, what was it? America innovates, China imitates, Europe regulates. I think Africa aggravates. It just gets annoyed and is like, I'm tired of this nonsense. A very good example is, let me give you practical cultural issues. How many of you have credit cards here? Please put your hand up if you have a credit card. Credit card? Credit card. Nice. Put your hand down. How many of you have debit cards? Debit cards, the ones that have money before. Cool. Nice. How many of you have done a mobile money payment today? How many? Mobile money payment. You've paid with your mobile, like you moved money from your mobile phone. Okay. Thank you. That's cool. So you've seen how the number has kind of dwindled a bit? Okay. Today, just today, between this morning and this evening, Kenya is going to move $880 million on mobile phone transactions. Today. Just today. In the same amount of time, we're going to have less than $2 million worth of credit card transactions. 2 million. Just $2 million worth of credit card transactions, and less than $40 million worth of debit card transactions. So $2 million on credit, 40 million on debit, $860 million on mobile money. While he was PS, something called M-Pesa kind of started. It was around that time, 2007, right? He approved it. He approved the mobile money transaction that accounts for 27 trillion shillings worth of Kenyan money moving around the country. We are so far ahead in mobile money transactions. The next country, we are 60 times more. And we only have 50 million people. We are 60 times more because we had a problem. And the problem was, my grandma lives in the village, I live in the city, I need to send her money, and I have to put somebody in the bus to go home, and they'd get robbed, right? It was a practical problem. It was just a practical problem, right? It's kind of like the way you want to make dinner, you leave the office, you go home, it's 7:30, you don't want to cook, and you don't want to have frozen food, someone delivers it to you, boom, billion-dollar company. Same situation, right? But it's a culture issue. So in our country, teachers are overwhelmed. It's a cultural problem, right? And who's suffering? The younger teachers. Why? Because the older teachers are senior now. They're the headmasters, headmistresses, they're the top. But the 30-somethings, 20-somethings are the young ones in a classroom with students all the way to the back, right? So they are looking for options. And where do they spend most of their time? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp, Snapchat. So if you bring an app, you're not having to buy them phones. They have a flat screen, wide range, Techno Infinix type $17, $170 phone. So you just put your app in there and tell them this is going to make your life easier. And the promotion is you're even going to have more time to do stuff on socials. And so they want the product. Culture. You understand what I'm saying? Yes. I hope I've answered your question.
Yes, yes. Right. Thank you. There I am. I'm sorry. But Tony's there for lunch. Please, do not hesitate. Let him eat a little bit, but... I know Moira has a difficult task to be the last speaker just before lunch, but she has fascinating things to tell us. So, Moira is Senior Lecturer at the Geneva Graduate Institute and Executive Director of NORAG. NORAG is the Network for International Policies and Cooperation in Education and Training. So, you can hear, she will have things to say. And Moira's journey is led by, I will read it twice as well, work in a place where great work is done, and where you also feel is a great place to work. So work in a place where great work is done, and when you also feel is a great place to work. Moira, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm between you and your lunch. I'm very aware of this, but I will try to at least entertain, if not inform. So when I was first discussing this presentation, I was asked to talk about inequities and AI and ethics, and you will have all seen the little flyers that I put out earlier where we have a publication about this. And really, I think what I wanted to talk to you about today was something that was going beyond classrooms, behind what actually is happening with AI. So starting it out, sorry, I'm going to go back one, because, no, I'm not. Yes, I am. There we go. Because when we're thinking about critical literacy for AI, we have to think about the social and the technical and the political and economic. Because if we don't actually address all of these issues, then we cannot, number one, use AI in an ethical way. We cannot develop AI and design AI in ways that are useful and ethical, and nor can we then think about deploying and funding AI that is ethical, useful for education, not for AI, not only for profit. It's not to say that profit is a bad thing. Some profit is absolutely fine. But if it's for that and not for education, that's when it becomes problematic. Okay, here we go. So first of all, thinking about this one level, which is the users, and there's a lot that's done in the education world around the users. Our Kenyan colleagues have now left the room, unfortunately, but we can't ignore the fact that this work that was done, talk about artificial intelligence relying on human intelligence. There were Kenyan workers who were exploited in terms of the amount of money that they were paid. And not only were they exploited in terms of the money that they were paid, their social emotional well-being was basically put on the line in order for certain AI applications to be clean enough to be allowed into national systems and into schools particularly. So the work that was done to clean up AI, to make it okay for our children's social and emotional well-being, has damaged those workers' social and emotional well-being. And we can't lose sight of those workers when we're also then talking about the teachers and other decision makers as well. In terms of the users with if we look at this Gartner hype cycle for emerging technologies, this is something that's been used with many different technologies. We're currently right at the top of the peak of inflated expectations as far as these technology people. This is not me saying this. These are technology specialists saying this. In order to, so things are going to probably go down and then they're going to go up again. But one of the things that the technologists know when you get to that point is you then have to do much more experimentation in order to work out what it is that is useful, etc. So these experiments are great because then we're going to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff, so to speak. But those experiments are going to be on human beings. It is human experimentation. Where is the consent? Where are the guardrails? Very, very happy to see that those are being put in place. But let's also be very careful about how much we joke about regulation being a bad thing, okay? There is absolutely a place for it. If there are guardrails for human experimentation in labs, there should be, and there will be, hopefully, guardrails here as well. Okay, moving on to something in the technical space. So the data and the algorithms. And here, as was mentioned by many people, the data, you know, it's like basically saying, right, we scraped the entire web, and so we now have the world inside our language models, our images, etc., etc. It's not the world. It's a very specific slice of the world, okay? Which is why I was extremely pleased to hear that the ambassador saying that, you know, he opened up Kenyan data in order to allow the development of something that was contextually useful, specific, and helpful, that you're using the Kenyan curriculum and approved materials as part of your app is absolutely what needs to be done in order to avoid this problem, which is we have this Western and white, we have educated and English-speaking. Mone, what you were saying was absolutely spot on, with a francophonie and also then national languages in all of these different countries, and also minority languages, because all of the countries in my continent in Africa, we have the official language, we have the colonial language, we then have multiple other languages, and also in Asia, and also in many Latin American countries. Industrialized, the people who had the computers in order to make the content in order for it to be on the web are mainly in industrialized countries, or were. Rich, now be very careful with this idea of rich. This is about global south, global north, but it is also about rich and poor in the global north, and increasingly the difference between rich and poor in the global south. Because those people whose data was scraped in Kenya or in Zimbabwe, in my country, or in any of these countries, they're going to be people who are relatively privileged in their own countries. And I do believe that this is the reason why, as our colleague over there said, they can say absolute nonsense with such confidence, because that is a function of privilege. Sometimes when you listen to privileged people telling you absolute nonsense, but with total confidence, that's what sometimes what ChatGPT sounds like to me. Okay. So then what are the implications of that? The implications, yes, it is about access, that digital divide when we're talking about access, sure, definitely. But who gets represented? And then, to what extent is that representation reinforced? To what extent is that representation amplified? Anyone who's done a Google image search or an image search in any AI or tried to generate an image with the word African, what do you get? What do you get? You get a woman in braids with beads and more beads. And she's beautiful. She's beautiful. Which is wonderful. But if you put European into exactly the same, what do you get? We're in Brussels. What do you get if you put European into the same search engine? Sorry? You get a map. You don't get a person. You get a map, and you get a blue flag with yellow stars on it. So European is talking about a region, it's talking about multiplicities, it's talking about union, it's talking about politics. African, one woman, one story, one hairstyle, one set of jewelry. And beads. That's the jewelry. Okay? Who's allowed to do the research? Something that you said in your presentation also. You can't get under the hood of these algorithms if you try. And even if you try, and you can't try unless you have a huge amount of money and knowledge and training behind you. So the research that's put out saying, not yours, the research that's put out saying, we did this and look at these amazing effects, how do you verify it? You can't verify it. Okay? The research where you go and you say, okay, what are your KPIs? What's a good key performance indicator for EdTech? Anybody? What would be a good performance indicator for an app? Please. Outcomes in grades. Okay. Learning outcomes. Anybody else? Learning outcomes is what we all want. Great. We did a micro study on some EdTech. There was not a single education KPI. The KPIs were about implementation of the technology. And if we implement the technology properly, then magic happens, and then learning outcomes. There was nothing there that actually gave you a clean path through it. Governance then, in whose interest? The regulation and the governance matters. It will always be there. The market does not exist in some fantastical alternative dimension. There will always be regulation. There will always be governance. The question is, in whose interests, by whom, for whom? Always. And that's old tech. All right, business models. So one of the things we need to be very careful with all EdTech, and with AI in particular, I think, no, probably just all EdTech, is government capture and procurement. If I have you as one person who's buying my service, I have one customer. If Educate forces all of you in this room to sign up to my app and buy my app, I've captured all of you. That's my classroom, right? Then what about the school? Then what about the district? Then what about the whole education system in a country? That's a lot of customers for one sales pitch, right? So how do we make sure that that's not happening? How do we make sure that it is actually something that is being done for all? Ownership, that's also an issue, and certainly monopolization I will come to soon. Material resources, we have heard the story about AI, lots of power and also enormous amounts of water, which less of it, in my country particularly, even less and less and less. How do we make sure that we're using the resources that we have in such a way that is worthwhile? Governance. So this is about individual data and consent. My children in school, the school has signed up to a certain suite of things. The school has signed up. My child hasn't given their consent, even if they would know how to, and they'd laugh at me all the time that I actually read the consent agreements and I say no cookies. Oh, you're such a Gen X mom. However, I haven't been able to give consent to that either, because the school already gave consent. Where's the meaningful consent in all of this? At a bigger level, there are other governance things. So this was just 2 weeks ago, I think, in New York. The European Union has done some work on this. UNESCO has done a lot of work on the ethics of AI and how to work with that and how to work with private sector companies. One of the key factors here that's sometimes forgotten in governance is monopolies, because the monopolies are the ones who have the resources to develop the language models, the large language models that have the resources to develop and to run those data centers, and that also have the resources to stop innovation, to stop innovators, unless you're under my roof already. So let's not put innovation on one side of the room and regulation on the other. The only reason that Mark Zuckerberg has a company at all now is because Microsoft was stopped through anti-monopoly legislation and regulation in the 1990s, I want to say. Some of you were not born. But let's not lose that very, very recent history. Facebook would not exist, Meta would not exist if it weren't for that anti-monopoly regulation. And now Facebook can swallow up WhatsApp and can swallow up Instagram, the innovators, in order to not be in a competitive field. I'm using those as examples. It happens in many, many, many places. Regulation can support innovation. It's not one or the other. Okay, so with all of that, I hope I broke that down a little bit, but I think it's really important to get all of that. There you go, Mona. It's really important to see all of this and to get all of that, even if I've just been able to touch on a couple of things, in order to understand why. All of that is behind the content. All of that is behind the job application letters that say, sure, I can tell you about this. All of that is behind what we actually see. And then we have this publication, as I mentioned. You can click on the QR code here or pick it up outside. Really important to actually be able to think these things through. Now, as a, what's the word? As an instantiation, sorry, that's a silly word, of trying to move away from this weird world that we are currently sort of dominated by. In this, we managed to get 70% women authors. So it's a collection of insights from a series of different experts. 70% women, 40% non-white, 40% global south. If we can do that with AI, and congratulations, félicitations, I Educate BE and the organizers of this day today for also managing to get a panel that is not representative of the usual AI technology people. If we can do that with AI, nobody has any excuse to not do it on any other topic, I would argue. We have this initiative, the South also knows, because we know we do. We need to convince others that this is the case. If you are from the Global South yourself, please join the network. If you are not from the Global South, search the database and tell your colleagues the next time anybody says to you, I know there are experts on whatever it is in the Global South, I just can't find them. Go here. And the next excuse those guys come up with, I will give them a solution for that as well. All right, and also we are a network of 5,800 education specialists around the world. You're very welcome to join us and continue this journey together. Thank you.
Don't go. Don't leave as such, because I have some logistical things to share with you. So first of all PowerPoints, will be on site. Everything is recorded. You will find it back on the website of Educate. Just give us some few days. Secondly, there was an interesting insight from an online participant who said, I consider AI tools as very valuable team members. So and now logistics. There's food, but there's also animation. You're going to have great vegetarian, sustainable food, I'm sure of that. But also, I would like the person from Technofutur, Jonathan Ponsard, Pierre Verbistou, stand up. And Inge van de Vivere to stand up if she's around. There you go. Those people, ces personnes vont vous animer. Donc, à partir de 13h,
Those people are going to moderate the sessions. As of 1 p.m., Inge is going to prepare you to workshop B with coding, and Jonathan and Pierre are going to help you playing AI based on a program they have developed called Referent AI. So they will let you play, but don't leave them alone. I'm sure that you would like to have a dessert and do some networking, but please go and find them, because they are there. They are there for you. At 2 p.m., there's going to be 2 workshops. You probably registered at the entrance. A lot of participants, that's great. I would like to ask the moderator of workshop A to stand up. So workshop A with Lane. Workshop B, well, that's my workshop. I will try to be the moderator. And so this is a person for workshop B. So sorry, I said workshop B, it's me, no, but it's workshop C. And workshop C has changed a little. Indeed, humanity and inclusion, because of the current situation in Lebanon, were not able to take part in this meeting. So MSF Academy will attend workshop C with me. And workshop D, who is the moderator for workshop D? Okay. I wish you a very nice lunch. First workshop 2 at 2 p.m., second workshop at 3 p.m. And at 4 p.m. we come back in this room for the conclusions. Thank you very much.